I was surprised.
I didn't believe it, actually.
This was something extraordinary for me.
It was really an exciting time.
The new chapter was opening in my life.
The only chance I had back then to study.
The opportunity of a lifetime.
It was a dream coming true.
The Fulbright program was created by an act of Congress in 1945. There was a lot of surplus military equipment at the end of the Second World War. The U.S. was downsizing its military at that time, and Senator Fulbright, J. William Fulbright from Arkansas, saw an opportunity to sell some of this material and use the money for a program of educational exchange, of scholarships and grants, to allow Americans, not just students but professors, to go overseas, and for students and professors from countries around the world to come to the United States.
He said, typically, education is a slow-moving but powerful force. He believed that through education, he could bring more understanding in world affairs.
It was a very high-minded attempt to set the world on a better path after the first half of the 20th century, when the world had endured two great wars.
J. William Fulbright believed that our future is not in the stars, but in the hearts and minds of people. So if we want to change the hearts and minds of people, we have to give them a certain education so that they are able to mutually influence each other and accept each other, respect each other's culture, and promote the ideas of humanity as a whole.
It's the only bicommunal committee which was officially set up under the first agreements of the solution of the Cyprus problem, as we call it.
The idea of helping young people to go in the United States, to study, to get the experience, and then to return to their home was very progressive, and it was essential and help the developing countries more than anything else.
That was my first time out of this little island. I had never been in a plane, never been outside. I was almost 20, and here I am in New York City, for example. And then I see big cars, big trucks, roads with many lanes, fast traffic flowing, millions of people around.
Iowa is a whole different story. It's the heart of America. You know, you see a small town with corn and agriculture.
I guess the most surprising thing was that everyone is so friendly in the States. And you walk down the street and people that you don't know say hi to you. And it's so nice.
The thing that took the most time to get used to was the siga siga attitude.
What impressed me the most in New York was the diversity.
I think the Fulbright experience is really valuable to the people who are engaged in it, because it does broaden their way of thinking about the world. So for both me and in fact for my children being here, you start to look at the world a different way than you would normally. And this isn't just your work, it's partly how you think of yourself as a citizen, how you think of yourself as a mother, as a person. To have the experience of being in different cultures, it really broadens your outlook on all of these questions.
I believe that the Fulbright experience has certainly broadened up my horizons in many aspects of my life. First of all, when it comes to academia, I had the opportunity to work with the best and work for the best. And I got to get involved into great and innovative research and carry out research myself. When it comes to meeting people, I meet lots of interesting people. That, for me, that was great. That was one of the best part of my experience. The most important thing, I got to see and experience educational approaches and methodologies and bring them back to Cyprus and implement them myself in my classroom, which I think that was one of the most beneficial things for me.
As an economist also working on global problems, I think it's vital to have some perspective that's outside of just your home country, but to see how other countries think about these economic policy problems.
In general, it made me much more self-confident, especially in this field of sciences where the women are sort of undervalued, and you have to show that you're dominant. You have to keep showing your work.
To be able to express yourself without fear, without pressure from anybody else. This is your idea. Whether somebody else likes it or not, it doesn't matter. That was one other thing that I really brought with me from the United States. And it is the Fulbright that did it.
My time spent here in Cyprus has changed the trajectory of my life.
You see the world from a whole different latitude.
My engagement with the world has changed.
Being a Fulbright scholar is a prestigious award that you carry with you for your whole life. That's how I see it. And I was benefited because of this award in many important instances in my life.
It was a stepping stone towards my graduate degrees and a key to my admission to two of the top US universities in their respective fields, MIT and the Harvard Medical School. I think if I had not had that scholarship, maybe I could get into those universities with hard work and persistence, but things would have been much more difficult.
The Fulbright has opened this drive for me to continue my education as far as possible, since I received it from the States, where it's openly creative, let's say.
The most valuable thing I gained through the help of Fulbright was meeting amazing people, which I would never have met otherwise, especially in my workspace. I met people who got Nobel Prizes. Actually, my professor for my PhD won a Nobel Prize very recently, and he was an amazing mentor, and the things I learned from him I would never have learned if I hadn't been in the States.
The Fulbright Scholarship allowed me to finish my undergraduate studies in the States, and then after that I was able to go get a job at Harvard Medical School right out of college, and I'm sure the name Fulbright Scholarship on my resume helped my very small resume at the time.
Cyprus Fulbright Commission was the first to introduce conflict resolution and rapprochement training on an organized and mass scale level.
During the 1990s, where it was virtually impossible for citizens from the two communities to meet because of the problem of the mutual non-recognition of the leaderships in both communities, the Fulbright made a significant contribution to citizen peace building because it played the role of the third party that would provide that bridge.
We created a forum for people to come in and explore their feelings and their ideas with other people. We tried to create a neutral environment, and so that's why we offered these programs not on one side of the other of the island, but in the buffer zone or on neutral ground.
The situation became so important that it became the #1 priority of the UN, these bi-communal workshops, these conflict resolution workshops, and the #1 priority of the State Department.
People started to think differently in the way they approached the Cyprus problem. So I think that's the only way you can see the impact.
It's a kind of impact that is impossible to try to quantify with numbers. The magic of the change that happens in one's heart is not something you can put in a box and measure.
We want to believe that we contributed immensely to the support of peace in Cyprus.
I think the Fulbright program has made a number of contributions to Cyprus, and certainly to the relationship between Cyprus and the United States. That's key.
Several young people were able to go to the United States and study. Most of them would not have been able to do that, and they have returned back to Cyprus to contribute to their own country. So this is a great investment for the country.
It allowed a lot of people to study abroad and come back and bring new ideas and perhaps some spirit of change and progress, which is definitely needed.
Now I'm in molecular diagnostics. I am using the techniques that I learned in the States, and this is directly, of course, translating to the people, because you're helping in their diagnosis about different things. You're bringing technologies that weren't used before here.
The overall economy of Cyprus, the quality of life, I think benefits enormously from the fact that a large number of young people get the opportunity to complement their studies with an important experience like the one that inevitably comes from studying in the United States.
Remember, up until 1990, there were no four-year universities, or the late 1990s, there were no four-year universities in Cyprus. And so the opportunities for higher education for Cypriot students was really Greece and Turkey, the UK, and many students went to the United States. And the Fulbright program and the CAST program really helped achieve that.
The fact that many countries are trying to duplicate what Fulbright Commission has been doing for 50 or more years, I think it proves the importance of this commission.
How do you evaluate the Fulbright program? What price do you put on the kid who has 7 patents in imaging techniques that locates tumor in the body? What value do you put on the cocktail of drugs that saves the lives of sufferers of HIV? What value do you put on a product that has been streamlining the financial markets?
What went on and what was the repercussion of having such a committee in Cyprus is much more beyond the scope of Senator Fulbright, which he had in mind when he proposed this piece of legislation in the United States. And it really helped Cyprus.
What Fulbright has achieved so far gives a good light what it should do in the future, because I believe it's been quite successful in putting this link between the peoples of Cyprus and America.
Having these ties between the United States and foreign countries is very beneficial to make the United States less provincial and more engaged with the world in a way that's not just about our narrow economic or political interests, but is about really relating as people. I think that's incredibly valuable.
I know that lately a lot of people have stopped going to the US just because they think it's too far, or they think it's more expensive than studying in Europe. But I think what the people who haven't been there don't know is how unique it is to study in the US. And I think Fulbright should raise awareness about this in every way they can. And I think us as alumni should help in doing this.
They can stand up and say, I did it, so can you. And it was a great experience, and you can have that experience too. So I think as we go forward, involving the alumni in the commission is going to be a key goal of ours.
I know things are getting tougher now with the economic crisis, but I certainly hope that things will go around so the funding to this commission will continue.
For 50 years, the Fulbright force was a real force in the life of Cyprus. If we lose it, or if we annihilate this influence, we are going to lose a lot.
It's like a ray of bright lights shining on the world. I don't know what would happen if that light goes off.